Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Frame Live. This is our first Thursday of spring. Wow, seems like it was just Christmas. So today we're going to talk a little bit about computers and your center. Computers really control our world. Most especially, they control bowling and entertainment centers. And granted, computers have to be replaced every now and then because of evolving technology and software that has different requirements. But there are things that you can do to keep your computers running more efficiently. And certainly there's things that you can do in the event your computer goes down to keep you from being as frustrated and losing time and getting back up and running quickly. So today we have Mike Randeisi, QubicaaAMF Technical Support Manager with us. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Dottie.
How are you today?
It's a great Thursday. How are things in your world today?
It's going pretty good. We are here today. We want to talk about a few things that people can do. This time of year, we've got a very unpredictable weather. Things roll into the area. We have storms come about. We have power outages. It's just a time where it's very unpredictable weather-wise, and you never know what's going to happen. So let's talk a little bit about some things that people can be doing now in their centers in the event, say, there is a power outage, or things along those lines that we can get them back up and running.
Yeah, so one of the things you can do right now, all the computers that we supply with a battery backup. Mm-hmm. Those battery backups are good for a long time, but they're not good forever. And there's going to be a point where they stop working. So it's best right now, while everything's functional, while you still have power, while you have time to do something about it, go check that battery backup and make sure that it's still good. Make sure that it still works. Make sure it'll still provide power when the power goes out. And if not, it's time to replace it.
Oh, that is so spot on. And speaking of backup, there's something else that people really, that's another topic that they really need to be mindful of, especially this time of year, is their backup, right?
Yeah, definitely. Look into your backups. You've probably got them set up. They're probably going off site somewhere. They might be going to a USB drive, but check on them. Make sure they're still working. You may not have used them in years. So make sure that process is still going. Make sure the backups are still working. Make sure the data is getting where you think it's going to. That way, in case something does happen, you do have that extra copy of your data.
Right. And I'm going to add to that. Make sure you know where it's backed up at.
Yes.
Because there's so many cloud services out there now. And, I know I'm guilty of having multiple clouds that I have data stored on. And when you are in a crisis situation and you need something, it's harder to compute stuff up there. And so it's a little bit harder to remember, okay, now where was that? And another good point is, do you know your password?
Passwords are another good thing for spring cleaning / maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you know all your passwords, especially for things like your backup that you may not have looked at for a couple of years. It's a good practice to replace your passwords every 60 days, regardless of regardless of whether the site tells you to or not, or the device tells you to or not, you should be changing your password every 60 days. Now, there's plenty of password managers out there, so you don't have to remember all the passwords. There's devices that will remember it for you. So definitely look into a password manager. But, spring cleaning, clean out the old passwords and let's set some new ones up.
Yes, definitely. And speaking of spring cleaning, we think about doing all sorts of cleaning around our house. We're cleaning out closets, we're cleaning out garages, we're cleaning out flower beds and gardens. Well, this is also a really good time to clean around your computer, right?
Definitely.
It's
typically one of those areas that gets overlooked.
Yes.
Clean the entire building, but that little place around the computer, you're afraid to bump something. So it just goes without getting cleaned. And next thing you know, there's a year, 2, 3 years worth of dust hanging out around the computer.
You know, the other thing is you mentioned that, you know, people are afraid to maybe clean around their computer, bumping it or jarring something loose or whatever. I've seen some people, and we can talk about this, it's a little bit off topic, but I've seen some people that feel the need to put their computers in like a cabinet to protect it from that. And they can put it in that cabinet and shut the door. And then it's like out of sight, out of mind, out of, you know, the zone of getting something bumped into it or whatever. That's, you need to be careful with that, right?
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind, and out of trouble is good as long as it's not running out of air.
Yeah.
It's got to have
Yeah.
circulation. Computers generate heat. So if there's no ventilation to that area, then that area is going to get really, really hot and you will literally just cook your computer and render it useless. So yes, you can have it in a cabinet, but make sure there's plenty of ventilation so that air is flowing through and your computer's not overheating.
Yes, definitely. And you know, even if you do have it in a cabinet and it is a well ventilated cabinet, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't open that door from time to time and clean in there. You know, even I know we used to get the compressed air like on a daily basis and just blow. You know, you want to make sure there's not dust bunnies and stuff, you know, accumulating in there that's going to eventually clog up the fan and stuff. So yeah, out of sight, out of mind is not good in that case.
Yeah, and I mean that's really the key there. Like you said, the fans, the vents, make sure those are clear. That's where all the heat's trying to go. And if the heat can't get out there, then the heat's going to stay in the computer and then the computer's going to overheat. So make sure your
Definitely.
vents are clear, make sure that the area is ventilated and not full of dust in the vents.
Definitely. Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves, but I'll tell you another pet peeve is looking behind a computer and seeing a rat's nest of cables. Now, I know you have an opinion on this of what we should be doing right now. So you've got the stage.
So all the cables back there really should be labeled. And if there's any cables back there that aren't being used, see if you can eliminate them. They may go to something, they may not go to something, but while everything's working, it's a good time to go figure out where does that cable go that's not plugged in. It may go to some device that doesn't exist anymore. It may go to some device that you think works, but it really doesn't work. It might be something you only use every few months. And this is, you know, you haven't used it in a few months, you don't know about it, but now it's unplugged. So when you go to use it, it's going to be, oh no, why doesn't it work? And then you have to find that cable that doesn't have a label, that's all mixed in with 200 other cables behind the computer, all in a big ball.
Yes, and you
So,
know, like we were talking earlier, the time to be doing some of these things is now. When you have the time, when you're not in a crisis mode of needing, you know, needing to get up and running, or the electricity's gone out and it's come back on, and you know, you're under the pressure to get your center back up and running. So now is definitely the time to take an hour or two and trace back those cables, get your labeler out. Even if the labels are not legible anymore, that's another thing. I mean, there could be label and it could be written with an ink pen, and over time that fades or gets rubbed off. So, you know, even if they are labeled, make sure that those labels are legible, you know, and if not, take the time to get you a little label maker and get everything organized.
right. And make sure it's something that somebody can understand on the label. There's times
Sure.
where you'll see just some random numbers and sure, maybe to you it means something, but if you're not the one at the center that is having the problem, is somebody else going to be able to figure that out? So make
Yes.
sure the labels are something meaningful.
Yes, and you know that also helps when they have a call that they place to you guys at technical support. It helps you be more efficient in helping them when you are asking them to say unplug something, but they have no idea. They look back and they see this rat's nest. It's going to slow you down in helping them to be able to handle whatever it is that they need assistance with. So I'm sure that you guys really love it when you get a center that's very well organized with their cables. And again, that's a pet peeve of mine, to look behind a computer and just have, you know, you pull one and the whole wad comes with you. So Yeah, definitely something that would benefit both you and the customer as well. So,
Yeah. And
and
like you were saying earlier, it's better to do it when it's not crunch time. Do it when things are
absolutely.
slow, when you have time. That way, if there's a cable you don't know where it goes, you can always plug something into one end and see what happens on the other, or see where that other end is.
Sure, sure. And there's no better time than to do that now when everything is running the way it's supposed to be running. Okay, and then the last thing that our viewers should double check this time of year is Windows. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes. Windows updates. That one thing that we all hate. It always pops up and says, hey, we want to restart your computer. And it's always at the worst time. We know. Everybody knows. It happens to everybody. I've looked at it and said, you know, I'm not doing this now. Click, do it later. But no, it does need to get done. And Windows does need to stay up to date. There's too many security updates now. There's too many problems that arise if you don't install the security updates. So for crying out loud, keep Windows up to date, please. It's,
You know, you said something to me recently that I wasn't aware of. You may have your computer, it may automatically update, but it usually prompts for a restart. And sometimes that install doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, and you might not even be aware of that. So do you advise centers to go in and just double check that from time to time?
yes, go in and check your Windows updates. Either if you're on Windows 10 or 11, you can just hit the start button and type in updates. It'll bring you straight to the Windows update screen. 7 and before, go into control panel, go into Windows updates. What you want to do is hit check for updates and make sure that everything comes back okay without error messages. If you see error messages, then there's something that needs to be resolved in order for updates to start working again. It is possible to, if you ignore it long enough, Windows updates won't even install anymore. There's some manual processes that have to be done, and then you'll be able to get it back on and get it back with Windows updates. But you know, this is another one of those things. It's better to find out during your downtime than it is to find out during crunch time.
Absolutely, for sure. In
Yeah.
fact, I highly encourage the people watching this video to go out and check that right after while it's fresh on their mind. Go out and make sure that everything is set up the way it's supposed to be and there's no errors that you need to be aware of.
Yeah. And
Definitely.
it doesn't just apply for our computers. It applies for all computers. Do it on all your computers, do it on your laptops, do it on your phones, do it on any devices connected to the internet. Keep them up to date, keep them safe.
Great information to hang on to. Well, Mike, you have given our viewers 6 wonderful things that, I mean, these are all things that we just never think about. When we think of spring cleaning, we certainly don't think of some of these things. And, you know, we also don't really stop and think in the springtime, we are really susceptible to power outages. And, you know, a storm comes rolling through and your power goes out. And that's when you discover that your battery backup is no longer your battery backup. That's not the way you want to find out. So before that storm comes rolling in, I certainly recommend that our viewers go in and check all of these things. So these have been some really great tips and best practices for our viewers to be aware of.
Well, thanks for having me, Dottie, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about these things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Viewers, I want you to be aware, we've got something really exciting. You know, it's not too often that bowling gets to take prime time. But next week, bowling actually gets the spotlight in prime time with a brand new sitcom, How We Roll, which is going to be on CBS next Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern time. And I myself am really excited about it. I've been seeing commercials for the last few weeks. But what's really exciting, well, let me just tell you a little bit about this show. Again, it's called How We Roll on CBS. And it stars Pete Holmes as Tom, a stoic Midwest husband and dad who gets laid off from a car assembly line and makes the extraordinary decision to provide for his family by following his dream of becoming a professional bowler. So I am really excited because on Thursday, April the 7th, we have the real Tom, professional bowler Tom Smallwood, whose life that this show is based on. He's going to be our guest on Beyond the Frame Live. So viewers, support bowling, show your support for the show. Tune in next Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern time on CBS for How We Roll. So until then, Mike, thank you so much for being with us today. Viewers, I hope that this information has been beneficial. I hope that you are able to take care of these things and never have to really get to that point that Mike has shared with us can be so frustrating, and you can pull your hair out because you didn't take care of some of these things before you needed to. So again, I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Don't forget to tune in next week on CBS. And I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon. Thanks for joining us today.